installation video for the Smith rack. First, you will locate these floor stands. There will be a left and a right. How to identify them? You will see this piece right here sticking out. That's go in towards the work area. So have it pointing in. So that's how you can identify left and right. So get these two lined up. Then you will get the main bar to connect them together. You will see two holes in the middle and that pulley frame. And then locate this part here. You will see the holes will match up to this back area. The hardware, to identify the hardware, we're gonna go with small, medium, large, and we'll just call these extra small. So on this frame assembly, you're gonna use medium on those two bolts right there, and you will use large on these two ends to get started. Make sure you put a washer on each end. Put a washer on the nut, on the bolt, then a washer on the back end with a nut when you go to tighten it up. But do not tighten anything until the whole frame is standing, just in case you need wiggle room to get everything to line up. Next step will be putting these two uprights. You'll see all of these small holes on both sides of the frame towards the back. You want to use the holes closest to the front to mount these uprights. So you're going to start out with this hole towards the beginning and whatever other hole it takes up. To identify, there's a left and a right on these uprights. You're going to see a big hole on one side. That's going to be for your weight tree holder, for your weight place to go on there. So that will go in that hole. So you want to make sure that hole is sticking out from the machine. So this will be the right side to have that hole sticking out, and then do the opposite on the other pole to make sure they're sticking in. Then the other way to identify too, these holes right here is where your Smith bar would rack onto. So this one will go on this side with the hole sticking out, and make sure these holes are sticking forward to rack your Smith bar on. The hooks of the Smith bar will grab onto that. Hardware, you will use the longest bolts to connect them. Washer on each side. Do not tighten up anything until the machine is up. Okay, next step, locate these two elbows. There's gonna be one on the right, one on the left. You will connect this. See all of those extra holes? You're gonna use the last one in the back, and then the other one will connect to this upright bar. Do the exact same thing on the opposite side. The hardware, you will use the longest bolt with a washer on each end. And for this portion, you will use the medium-sized bolt, washer on both ends on everything on the assemblies. Then you will locate these two upright bars, the stainless steel bars. This is where your cable pulley will attach to. To identify these two posts for upside down and right side up, you're gonna see this extra small hole at the bottom. So make sure that is going towards the bottom, and then you're gonna see these other small holes. Make sure those are facing going in towards the machine. That'll be your right side. This will be your left side. Make sure those holes are facing in towards the machine. Then you will locate these two parts here. This is where your cable crossovers will be put together. So this is the first part. Then your pulleys would hook onto this piece here. Make sure these pins are facing inwards. That's what those little holes are for. Those will pop in the pin as you slide up and down this post. So they will lock in. So make sure this part is facing out towards the outside of the machine. That's where your cable crossover pulleys will connect to. So these two in a position where they are, that's where they need to be. Left and right, make sure those two yellow parts are facing inwards. Make sure these clamps right here is facing outwards for your pulleys to connect to. Then you will connect it to that front part of the brace. They will connect into there. You will use the longest nuts and bolts for that. Next step is locate this left and right upright bar. That's gonna go right on top of the machine to join these two poles together. To identify them, you're gonna see these two big holes in the back. That's gonna go towards the back end, and you will see these pulley braces. Towards the front, you're gonna see that same brace sticking upwards, and you're gonna see a wider one on the bottom that's gonna connect this stainless steel post together. So these two are the same, so there's no left and right, just as long as you have them facing the right way. So one on one side, one on the other. The holes, you're gonna see these extra holes, just like you did at the bottom. You're gonna mount them in the same position. You're gonna start with that first hole towards the back and do that on both ends to mount right at the top onto that one. And then the braces in the front is gonna go right on top of this stainless steel bar. That would be that part right there, would mount right onto there. Then you will have this back bar that you see these four pulleys set up on there. This is gonna mount, once this is up, this will mount right up against here. You will see these two holes to accept this bar. So once you get those up, this will go in on both ends to connect that frame together. So start out with these two pieces first, left and right, mount those on top. Once you get that on, then you're gonna go with this part here and join them together. This will bring the machine together. Like I said, do not tighten up anything, just so you have wiggle room to get this together. Then once you get that back end on, this pull-up bar will mount in the front two holes that you see right here. So once you get that standing, that pull-up bar is gonna mount into those two holes on both ends. So start with these two pieces, then go with that back piece. The nuts and bolts you will use for this will be for those two pieces there. Use the longest bolts you have that would mount onto that frame right there. So use the longest bolt with a washer on both ends. Then when you come to this front piece, you will use the medium-sized bolt to connect that piece right there on top of the stainless steel bar. The back bar, where you connect this back bar into that frame, you will use the longest bolts to connect those as well. Then when you connect the pull-up bar, you will use the longest bolts. Okay. Now this is where you want to start tightening up the machine. As you notice, everything is leaning, but having all your parts in before you're ready to tighten up. If I didn't mention it, that part in the back with the pulleys. Make sure those are facing downwards, and see those fins sticking out. Make sure those are coming forward, just as you see. Now, next step, you need to put this cross brace, and it will go right where you would have to take out those bolts right there. And it's gonna share the same space. So take out the bolts, connect it, then you'll see these two holes right here. You have cross bracing, which would be these right here. These would be your cross brace. So once you put that bar in, you're gonna mount this cross brace, and then the other part would go right into the frame that you're putting up top. You'll see those two holes on each end where those would go in. So on these, you will use the same bolts, just take the nut off, put those in place and put it back. Then the cross bracing, you will use the medium-sized bolts to connect these other pieces on this end and also on this end. Okay, on that top brace, you will have a problem because of the screws won't be as long as it should be. So take off the washer, and as long as you can get it caught, even if you get one, then you can tighten it up and it'll pull the other one together. If that frame right there on the top, if the tips are bent a little, you may have to get a hammer and kind of make it go flat, just so you can reach, just so that nut can reach the bolts to be able to tighten it up. As on mine, I had to do that on mine, where I had to kind of hammer the tips just to get it to reach, then tighten it down. Then go to your cross braces, tighten up the whole machine, and everything will start standing straight up at that point once you tighten everything up. Next step, and a correction. There are two parts that looks the same, these two here. One is the top and one is the bottom. In the beginning, I had you put the top on the bottom. You'll notice the bottom from one has like a foot peg on it, and then it has that little rubber stopper at the top. As the weight has come down, it would bounce on that. So if you put this one on there, just swap them out, and this one will go up top. And that weight tree bar, there's no right side up or upside down, it's just one way. So you're gonna slide that weight stack holder on there. When you slide it on there, just make sure that hole is towards the back. This will bounce down and hit that rubber piece when it bottoms out. So you're gonna slide this into the hole. And then you're gonna take the top part and slide it on. Well, I'll do that part when I cut video, but you'll slide that on top. Then it would mount into those two holes in the back. Then you will see on that frame, it has a hole, so they will screw right to the frame, so they don't go so deep into the body of that of the bottom. So you'll see two holes there. So you'll mount it to either one of those holes, just to make sure that bar will reach the top and the bottom. Then you will have this Olympic bar holder. You will take these two bolts back out, slide that in the back end, so it would also share the same bolts. If you have the same issue without, not going in, just get rid of the washers, just so you can get room to slide it on. If you can use the washers, use them. That will go there in the back right corner, or you can do the left corner, it doesn't matter. You can do either side. If you want, you can even bring it up front and mount it there. This landmine, that's in the beginning where those two holes I said to leave at the bottom. The landmine can mount on either side. So you would just take that bolt out, mount it onto there and tighten it back up, or you can do it on the right side. It's optional, depends on where you want it. Okay, the frame is all standing. All your mains frames is all done. Earlier when I mentioned two holes, is really only one hole to mount that pole in there. So just the other hole is where the plastic is clipping into. So the same on the top, just put the nut and bolt in the hole, slide that on top and mount those two bolts. For your landmine, just take that, unbolt that bolt, put a washer on both ends and tighten it up. Make sure it's twisted where it's riding with the frame and not twisted the other way where it's poking out. Also, this will be already together, so just unscrew it, take a washer off of one end and put it on the opposite end. Then when you tighten up this bolt, tighten it up to where it's barely moving and then just back off of it a little bit. You want it to be moving freely. The same on this part, tighten it up and then back off the bolt some so it will move freely. This next part is just how the accessory slides onto the machine. All the accessories are just slide on. You just lift them up, slide them out of the hole, put them in whatever position you want, slide it in, and then let it drop down, and that'll go for each attachment. If you do it wrong and put it on the opposite side, you'll see it's not working anyway. So you only can do it one way, making sure the pin is towards the top on each accessory, and then just let them slide down. So the same thing on these bars. They're a little stiff. You can get like pliers or something. Like mine's is a little stiff sliding on, except for this part. You can open them up a little bit. But these are just accessory slide-ons. That's your dip bar handles. This is your Olympic bar holder, and that is your spotter. If you're working out by yourself, that's your spotter. So if you're doing free weights, you can set that to whatever position so you don't get stuck. Next part, we're gonna put the pulleys on top of these handles. You're gonna have it facing this way. Use the longest bolts, ride the bolt from the bottom up, and just do that on both ends. Same thing, tighten them up and then back off of them a little bit because they need to move around freely. Next part is the Smith bar assembly. Take the Smith bar and just hook them right in the middle for now. Then locate these two pieces. They will slide on like here. Just the way they're gonna slide on is this unfinished edge will slide on first up against here and slide it in. So you will do that on both ends. Just slide that bar on there for now. Next part is the two bars that it's going to be gliding up and down on. There's going to be a hole, threaded hole on one side. Leave that towards the bottom. So once you go in, you're going to screw it from the bottom up to keep it in. Also locate these two rubber bushings. Just put them on there now for standby. So what you're gonna do is once you have that Smith bar hooked on there, you're gonna take this rod, slide this out where you can access it, and slide the rods right into there to get them set up. But make sure that threaded hole on that bar is going towards the bottom so it can go into that hole down there. So do one side at a time and just slide that rod in and get it set up. Then once you get it in there, you'll notice at the top, the holes are straight through, so you can push it all the way up to get it set and then bring it down. As you bring it down, take these two safety hooks, set these up right at the, on a second hole from the bottom and just hook them on there. So as that bar comes down, you're gonna slide this rubber bushing first. It will sit on top of this and then let it go through the hole there and then down to that bottom hole. That rubber bushing will be your resting place for when you're using your safeties. This will come down and bounce on top of that rubber bushing. So again, set it up, put the Smith bar in the hooks, slide those two pieces on, put the two safety catches on the second hole from the bottom, get the rubber bushings and have them set in place. Get these two poles and slide them in, make sure the threaded hole is at the bottom, and then just ride it up through the top hole, then slide down through the safety. No, slide down, catch the rubber bushing, then through the safety, then down into the hole. Okay, we got one side in. Just to make sure when you're sliding this bar in, make sure this is towards the back and not flip towards the front when you're sliding that bar in. On the holes in the top, you're gonna use the one that's farthest out to the front. So it's gonna be a little difficult going in there. When you slide it in, bring this bar on the outside, then you may have to like kind of force it in to bend it up into that hole, then slide up, the pole will slide up through the top. And once you slide it up, just slide that rubber bushing on, then slide the safety on, and then let the pole slide into the bottom. Then you tighten up put a short bolt on the bottom with a washer. And it would look like this. So do both sides. Then you will have these. This is set up where you can do standard plates or Olympic plates. Once it's all set up, if you're using Olympic plates, you have this part right here that would go on there, and that would make it for the 2-inch Olympic plates. Okay, I'm gonna give you an easier way of installing this post because I had a lot of problems trying to get this shaft to go in. So what you're gonna do is take that elbow back off, then slide that bar up through that post, go above the pipe so you can get all of your parts in. So then you will put the rubber bushing, put the safety catch, then slide it into the frame, and then reassemble your elbow back onto the machine. Next step is the cable assembly. We're gonna start with the longest cable that has the balls at each tip. This is gonna be your longest cable. So you're gonna start out with taking off this top pulley. You're gonna notice that you're gonna have a washer, 2 washers on one end because it was pre-assembled. So take one washer off and put it on the opposite side. So now that that one was done, you're gonna notice the other one that you didn't need to do has it too. So just take that washer off and put one on the other side. So start out with putting the ball inside of here. Make sure you stretch the cable out to get all the bends and twists out of it so it doesn't get tangled up while you're doing this. So start out with putting one in there, go up to the top, put a wheel on it, washer on both ends. Now you're gonna go to the back, put another wheel on it, then drop the other cable through that hole right there. That hole is big so that ball can drop through there. So now you're gonna let the cable drop down. You're gonna have two of these double wheel brackets. So put one cable through that one, go back up, go across these. You have 4 wheels up here. So go across 2 of the wheels and then drop down. Now you have this short double wheel pulley. It's only one. Roll the cable between the short wheel pulley. Right now you'll see that the cables are kind of twisted, but you want to try to, like I say, go in and try to get all the tangles out. But the twist will come out when you go to attach the other cables to it. So this should be in a straight position like this when you're done. So once you go across those 2 wheels up there, come drop down, go across this middle pulley, the little short one, go back up, across the 2 top pulleys, repeating everything on the opposite side. Drop down once you come across those 2, drop down. You have another double wheel pulley, go around, back up, and now you're repeating it on the opposite side. Put a wheel up there, have the cable come straight across to the front, another wheel there, drop down, take that wheel off and slide that in there. On these pulleys, you're gonna see this black little rubber piece. Just pull this up. That's just to stop the ball from rolling back. Then that would be the first pulley. Next cable is the low pulley row. Find the pulley with the last pulley with the ball on it. So start out by sliding that, putting that ball in place and putting the pulley on. Then go up to this next pulley here, right around that pulley, come around, down, add another pulley there, then go up, and you will see one pulley that have a hook on it on the back end. It would only be one. So right around, come up from the bottom, go up, around this pulley, come back down, and then put a nut at the bottom. On the other cable that we did earlier, I had hooks on them. Replace those and put a nut and a bolt on those instead of those hooks, because you need those for your accessories. Then for the last pulley is a short pulley with two round ends, two of those tips on both ends. Use one. This one you will use one of the clips to connect there, because you will run out of those short bolts to connect it. Then run up the back of the machine over that pulley, or the pulley at the top, come out over to the front pulley, come down and connect to that same pulley, and you can put a nut on that one. Then you will see 2 pulleys that's the exact same. What you will do is you will have one that's gonna have the finished tip. Put the nut and the bolt on there. Start from this back end, go up around that pulley that you put on earlier, go around that, come back down, go under that, put a pulley there and ride it underneath the machine through these 2 holes here. Put a pulley right there, go up. And then right onto the back of the cable crossover, slide it up through there. You will see 2 Allen head keys, Allen head nuts. Slide it right up through there and then tighten that down. Just leave a little bit sticking out and tighten that one down. Then you're gonna do the other side the same way. When you finish the other side, you will have excess, but do not finish tightening this up until you tighten down all your pulleys. Start tightening up all your pulleys to get all the slack out first. And this will be your final adjustment to pull tight. This way you can get all these pulleys to pull tight where they're not twisting. Because once they go loose, you're gonna see them twisting. So get it tight. I suggest put 1 or 2 weight plates on there. So when you're doing your final adjustment, it's not gonna be adjusting where this is up in the air and then you tighten down everything and you'll see that you messed up your adjustment. So add a weight or plate or 2 on there just to keep it down and then pull all your cables tight. Then tighten down there. Then you can cut off your excess and tighten down those bolts on that one afterwards. Then your final is just putting these clips on and putting your accessories at the bottom and at the tip, and that's your final assembly.